What's going on, Pixel Hackers? Christian from PixlFeed here, and in this video I'm going to break down and explain to you what CBO is when it comes to Facebook ads. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's do it. Alright, so CBO. If you're watching this before February, you might have heard of CBO if you've been doing Facebook ads. CBO stands for Campaign Budget Optimization, right? So ever since Facebook ads started up until now, you had ABO, which is Ad Set Budget Optimization, okay? So I'm gonna break that down for you. So you got ABO, and you got CBO, okay? So CBO was supposed to roll out September of 2019, and it got delayed because it wasn't perfect yet, okay? So if you've been doing Facebook ads for a while and you manage lots of accounts, so if you have, you run a lot of traffic, I'm sure you have been playing with CBO. If you're watching this, you probably don't even know what that is. You're trying to figure out what that is. So I'm gonna try to explain it as best as I can. Okay. So when you log in into your Ads Manager, right? The way it's broken down into a few tabs. So you have Campaign. Okay, you got Ad Set or Ad Sets, and then you have Ads. Okay, all right, so try to follow here. So the way that we used to do it before CBO or Campaign Budget Optimization is that we would create a campaign here. So campaign number 1, okay, and let's say this campaign was about a pet product. Okay, so inside of the ad sets, we will choose our interests. So pet interest 1, pet interest 2, pet interest 3, and so on and so on and so on. And then you had your different creatives, right? And ad copy. Okay, so the way it worked is that you would set your budget per interest. Okay, so let's say you would set $5 here, $5 here, $5 here, and then the traffic will go to your ad creatives, and then that was the end of it. You pretty much had to research which interest was performing best, and then you as a media buyer, as an ad buyer, you would decide where to shift your budgets. So what a lot of people did back then, or what they still do, the ones that can still, we can still do it, it's before February right now, is that you run ads to single interest, right? And then you figure out which interests are giving you the best result, cost per acquisition, the best bang for your buck, basically. And then what you do is you look at your data, and based on that data, you grab the winning interest, the ones that are bringing you the most profit, and then you will scale from there. What happens is that Facebook has so much data on everything we do and everyone. Think about it. When you place a pixel on a website, that information goes back to Facebook, right? So every ad account, it's gathering all this information. It's been gathering all this information for years. They know what you're buying, how much you're spending, when you buy it, how you buy it, what credit card, what country, et cetera, what device, right? So Facebook goes, hey, we're gonna help you out. We're gonna make it as easy as we can for you, okay? And that's why they release CBO, Campaign Budget Optimization, okay? So this is ABO. CBO is you set your budget, right, at the campaign level, right? So you have your ad sets here, pet 1, pet 2, pet 3. Those are my interests, right? And then you had your creatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So your interests, your interests are gonna, you select you set your creatives per interest, right? But the difference is that instead of doing 5, 5, 5, or whatever your budget is, you're doing, so let's say 15, okay? So Facebook goes, okay, you're giving me $15 and you're giving me these interests. Well, I know which interest performs best at what time of the day, best on your creative and your niche. So I'm going to send traffic that way. Okay, so all that micromanaging that I love to do, by the way, it's going away. So media buyers like myself and Facebook ads buyers like myself have been doing this for years and years and years. We're so used to tweaking and messing around and looking at the cost of link, cost per click, or CTR, or a cost per in-state checkout, cost per add to cart, and based on those, we would make decisions on what to get rid of. So I would say, hey, my cost per acquisition, my cost per purchase here is $10, but here is $12. Well, get rid of $12. Let's scale, that one. Well, Facebook goes, I know who's gonna bring me the most purchases or the most leads for the cheapest cost possible. So I'm gonna send traffic that way. At least that's the ideology behind it. Okay. Now I've been running CBOs on every account for about I think it's been a year now. And there's two camps with CBO. It works and it doesn't. But if you're watching this, I want you have no choice, because next month it's going to be mandatory. You have to start running CBOs, okay? Now, the thing about CBOs is they don't work with small budgets. So $15, $20, $30, forget about that. It's not going to perform like it used to. I guess you can still create a CBO campaign and just do one interest and see what happens, but you're not going to get good results. So you got to give Facebook room to optimize, okay? So if you're doing CBO, you got to start with a minimum of $100, minimum. Now, I have noticed that CBO works best with bigger budgets, and the sweet spot, at least for me, the sweet spot where I see perform the best is $500, okay? And some of you are probably new, so you're watching this and you're like, shit, I don't have $500 to start. Well, this is where you got to start learning how to use rules. Now, if you go into your Ads Manager, there's 3 little dots on the right above the, those buttons where you delete and edit campaigns and all that. There's 3 buttons, and you can create rules in there. I'm gonna my next video is gonna be on rules. But that's where you gotta start managing your campaigns as far as the rules go. So if your ad set, if your campaign budget is $500, right? And your cost per acquisition that you're willing to pay, it's $25. You're not willing to pay more than that because let's say your product is $50 or whatever, and you don't want to spend more than $25 on one ad set without results. You actually got to go in there and create a rule that kills that ad set for the day if it hits that $25 ad spend and you get no results. And then you got to create another rule that turns those ad sets back on at midnight, and it resets everything so all the different ad sets have room to play and try to get you conversions. Now, besides the 500 sweet spot that I've seen with CBO, you can't go crazy with too many ad sets, okay? So when I'm running $500, I'm doing max 5 ad sets per campaign. So think about dividing the $500 between the 5 ad sets. The other thing is that with CBO is you have to keep the audiences relatable. What do I mean by that? So if you're looking at your funnel, right? So let's say this is your funnel, right? Okay, so top of the funnel, that's gonna be your call conversions campaigns. So this is campaign, I spelled it wrong, campaign 1. So this will be 1 CBO, right? CBO number 2 will be your campaign 2. Right? And that's gonna be the middle of the funnel, okay? So you don't want to mix audiences of cold, you don't want to mix cold audiences and warm audiences on the top of your funnel, okay? So you keep all your cold audiences at the top of your funnel, you keep all your warm audiences in the middle of the funnel, and then campaign number 3, it's going to be the bottom of the funnel, your hardcore retargeting, okay? So you got to make sure that whatever audiences or lookalikes you're using, you keep them in that part of the funnel. You do not mix them together. Okay, so make sure you do that. The other thing that I have noticed with CBO is that whatever ad sets you're using, whether it's interest or lookalikes, make sure that the audience sizes are the same or close to. Okay, so if you're doing small audiences, let's say of 300,000 people, make sure each ad set, the size is 300,000 people or pretty close to each other. You know, if you're doing big audiences like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million with lookalikes or whatever, make sure those audiences are the same size. Because what happens is it doesn't perform. What Facebook is going to do if you're using different size audiences, Facebook is automatically going to send all your traffic to the biggest audience and it's going to latch on to that one. Okay? So make sure that your audiences, whether it's top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, they're about the same size. The other recommendation is do not launch your campaigns until all your ads, all your creatives are approved. Okay, why is that? One thing that I have noticed, especially with CBO, that if you launch your campaigns and all your ad sets are not approved ahead of time, Facebook is going to latch on the first creative that gets engagement. Okay, so it's very, very important that you launch your campaigns at midnight your time. Okay, so you know, create all your campaigns way ahead of time, especially if there's delays on reviews and stuff getting approved. Just set them on there, just make sure they're off, and even if they're off, Facebook is going to review your campaigns and they're going to approve them. Or just what I do, this is what I do. Every campaign that I create, I schedule it out for midnight, to start at midnight, right? And then that way you know Facebook's gonna spread that budget throughout the day. Because what happens is, let's say two things are gonna happen here. If you launch that campaign in the middle of the day, let's say it's 3 p.m. and you tell Facebook, hey, I have a $500 budget. Facebook is going to make up for the other half of the day that it hasn't been running, and it's just going to spend like that money like crazy. It's going to accelerate the spending on that budget. And then to top it all off, if you launch it with, let's say, you know, each ad set has 5 different creatives, the first one that gets engagement, that's where Facebook is going to send the traffic to. So it's going to latch onto that. So you're not having an even playing field when it comes to your creatives. Okay, so that is some pointers right there for CBO. Remember, campaign budget optimization. It's going to be mandatory. Depending when you're watching this, it's probably mandatory by the time you watch this. Make sure you start learning your rules. Make sure you start with a budget of 100 plus, 100 or more, and keep, you know, those ad sets relative to your budget. You can't have a $100 budget and 20 different ad sets. It's too much for Facebook to optimize. Okay, so rule of thumb that I like to do, it's $100 per ad set and let it run. I have tested it with smaller budgets, but you have to do manual bidding with those to try to get any type of results. You know, if you can't start with 100, then do like 3 ad sets, and then make sure you manually do a bid cap of 3 times your cost per acquisition if you know your numbers. But those are some pointers about CBO. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you think. And if you like this video, make sure you move on to the next. Watch one of the ones coming up. And I'll see you in the next video.